Hello everyone, this is Dennis at Boulder Sounds, and welcome to the video demo of the Trron Kontakt sample library. I'm most likely butchering the pronunciation of this instrument, but I think that's the best I can do. This is a 16-string zither instrument from Vietnam. And something we've included in this version are some different skins in the background. So for example, if you go here to the settings page, you can go to the select skin category up here, and there's a drop-down menu. So the first skin, you can see a close-up of the strings here, and the second skin, a little different view. Here's skin number 3, a little bit darker, and skin number 4. So that gives you some ideas as to what this instrument actually looks like. But I would recommend, when you have a chance, go to YouTube and watch some people play this. It's a beautiful instrument, very exotic sounding. And the techniques they use to bend strings and get these certain effects are just really wild. I mean, some of the bending techniques would put Jimi Hendrix to shame. I'd also like to take just a minute in this video to show you how to load this library into Kontakt, because there's a lot of confusion between the free Kontakt player and the full retail version of Kontakt. Sometimes people don't understand what they actually have. So you do, if you paid for your version of Kontakt, whether it's in the complete package or a standalone version, then you have the full functional version of Kontakt. This library is not designed for the free Kontakt player. So that's something very important to understand. So let me just switch my screen mode here so I can show you quickly how you'll load this instrument into Kontakt. So now we're looking at the empty Kontakt rack. I'm using Kontakt 5. One way to load is simply by the Files icon right up here. So we're not going to use the Libraries tab that is generally off here to the left. So either the Files menu, or you could use the Quick Load. You click on this and you'll see at the bottom it opens a browser. You can just drag your Kontakt folder right in there and load anything from there, and it'll be there every time you open up Kontakt again. Another way is just to drag the instrument you want to use from a folder on your desktop. That's actually something I do more frequently. So I just dragged it in, and there's my Trron pentatonic instrument. Another method is to open your browser on the left side of the toolbar up here, and you can see it shows a directory which you can load from. If you hit that and you see your Libraries tab here, switch it back to the Files tab, and then you have that available to load that way. So I hope that clarifies any confusion on loading Boulder libraries into Kontakt. Okay, let's dive right in with the Trron pentatonic instrument. In the lower left we have two tabs, Instrument and Effects, and the bottom right we have a drop-down menu with the various sub-pages of each of those tabs. At the very bottom of each drop-down menu you'll see an About page. It's an online built-in manual written right into Kontakt by Bo Clausen for your convenience. Also, I'm going to get out of minimized mode here and go to maximized. And here you notice an info icon. Make sure that is highlighted if you want to use what's called mouse hover over help. So when that is highlighted, if you're not sure what a knob does, you just put your mouse directly over that knob or that button, and at the bottom of Kontakt in the lower left, you can't see it because I'm not zoomed out far enough, it will tell you exactly what the function of that knob is. So that's very useful information built right into Kontakt for you. We'll also have a very nice PDF manual for you as well. So why do we have a pentatonic instrument? Well, this instrument is tuned to the pentatonic scale. So if you're in the key of C major, it's tuned to the notes C, D, E, G, and A. And you'll notice here, this box says tonality. Our default setting is the key of D major, and next to it, after the slash, is its relative minor key, which is B minor. So if you prefer to think in terms of minor key, you can look at it from either perspective. So notice the keyboard. There's no blue keys mapped over the white keys where they generally are in contact. They're only mapped to the black keys because when you play the black keys starting on F sharp, you get an F sharp major pentatonic scale. And the beauty of having it on the black keys, if you want to do some glissandos, it's very easy. So frequently in this traditional Vietnamese music, you'll hear, sometimes long glissandos, sometimes very short ones ending on a specific note, and then some, wild bending. I'll get into the vibrato options we have in this instrument a little bit later. So if I want to change my tonality, I can go from, D major, pentatonic, just move this knob. Here's F major. And I did sample this instrument chromatically, so I retuned each string, tuned it with multiple velocity levels and round robins, everything that you would expect. But this particular instrument is set up just for pentatonic type sounding music. We will also offer a chromatic instrument and a few other options that I'll show you later in the video. And above that you see harmonics. Harmonics can be triggered by this key switch right here, assigned to F, the yellow key switch. So, you want to play a natural note passage, and then some harmonics. Just hit the key switch. If you want to lock it, you click the button, it says harmonics locked, and now the harmonics stay on regardless. And then what you can do is you hold that key switch down, that will unlock it. So if your general mode is playing in harmonics, just lock it, and then when you don't want harmonics, press the F key switch, and you're back to natural articulation. So next we have tremolo, and we have actually two tremolo modes. We have a auto tremolo and a manual tremolo. When I turn this on, I'm going to be demonstrating the manual tremolo. So same story, I can lock it like that, just as I did with the harmonics, or I can just press down my sustain pedal, which is controller number 64. It's set right here, and you'll see that highlights. It says tremolo on. So I'll just do it that way for now. So when I have my sustain pedal down and I'm triggering the tremolo, I press the key, I release the key, I get another note upon the release. So here's just one note pressed and released. Okay, so if I do that at varying speed, I have control over the speed of the tremolo manually. And I'm sure if you have good keyboard technique that I do not have, you can really be expressive with this. And also, of course, velocity is already read by how hard you hit the keys. So it's all done for you. It's very expressive. Just a little practice, you can get some very cool sounding effects. I'll explain the auto tremolo a little bit later. Next, I'd like to show you one of the most interesting aspects of this instrument, at least to me. We have this articulation column here, and it says preset number 1. These are changed by the green key switches down here. So as I go through the various green key switches, you'll see the preset numbers change on the main page. Okay, so we have 8 of them. So what's actually happening? Well, to see it visually, what you want to do is go to the articulation page. And when I'm on preset number 1, that's the default. Watch what happens to some of the controls here when I go to preset number 2. You notice the low pass filter has kicked in, and what that's going to do is going to give me a little bit of a darker sound. So we can have real-time articulation changing. You know, it's almost like real-time EQ, real-time attack, control, presets as you're playing music on the fly, or you could sequence into your DAW and then change it after you've played the notes in. So here's the default sound. Nice sharp clear attack. Here's preset number 2. A little rounder, more muted sound because we're using a low pass filter. And you can take a look at all the various parameters just to see how that was done. So it can be very educational if you're just kind of learning how to do this stuff. Here's preset number 3, and as you can listen, it has a slow attack, and that's reflected right here in the attack. It's 508 milliseconds. And here we have curve control of the attack, convex versus concave. We also have decay control and sample start. The sample start is really very effective. Let me go back to preset number 1. So here's preset number 1. If I move the sample start all the way forward to 100 milliseconds, you see it's starting 100 milliseconds into the sample. It's quite a different sound quality, not nearly as bright as the default. The default is this. And 100 milliseconds in. Beautiful sound. And then, you know, I might turn on a filter. I also have control over how much velocity modulates the sample start point. We have decay control here. And once I get something that I like, we have this drop-down menu, and you can save your own presets. So I get a setup that I like, I might save it into preset number 1 and fill up these 8 presets. And then I can save all presets as a bank, and I can name it whatever name I wish, and then I can load all the presets, and you can create your own custom setups. So the velocity control on these settings can be very effective. For example, if I slow down the attack on the preset number 1, and I bring it up, so that's quite a slow attack, I can modulate that with velocity. So if I play louder, it will speed up the attack. If I play softer, it will play the slower sound. You have to get the right setting though. So there I'm hitting it fairly hard, and then here's soft. So it can really take the edge off it. And then as you lay into the key more, you can get more attack. So I took a bit of a detour from the tremolo topic, so let me go back to the tremolo page. Here, if I turn auto tremolo off, or I'm sorry, I'm actually turning it on. It is off now. Before we were using manual tremolo. You see these controls appear. Right now I have my CC controller set to controller number 74. And basically the way this works is you hold down your sustain pedal, because it's telling you the controller here is number 64 to turn on the auto tremolo. Okay, and then with my slider that I've assigned on my controller, number 74, you'll hear what it does. So basically controlling volume. And then I can scale that volume right below it here if I want a more drastic effect. So if I bring it all the way up to 100%. Okay, and I can always go back to the initial setting by command clicking or control clicking on the PC. So what if I want to I want to control the speed as well as the volume. So I could assign these to the same controller, or I could use different ones. It's really up to me. So I just click on Learn MIDI CC, move that slider, which is also 74, And so what we should get now is an increase or decrease in volume, and the speed should mirror that as well. So you have a lot of control there. Personally, I like the manual tremolo, but I think you could get some effects using this auto tremolo that you could not get otherwise. And also this add knob right here under the speed is a scaling button. So if you want it to be more drastic or less drastic, you're just going to increase or decrease that percentage. So now I'd like to move on to a very important part of this instrument, pitch bending and vibrato. Let's change the tonality to the key of E. I'm tired of hearing D major pentatonic. Okay, so what we do is we go from the main page to the PB vibrato page, pitch bend vibrato page. And so this is just in reference to your pitch bend wheel, and you can see it's turned on. Here you can turn it off if you want to, but I don't think you'll want to. And what's important to understand about this is since this instrument rings like crazy, the strings just ring over each other. If you want to bend a note, you don't want them all to bend, you just want the last note you played to bend. And so the way this is set up is so if I play a phrase in the pentatonic scale and then I bend that note, you can only bend a note in an upward direction. It's not bent downward, so the pitch raises. If you take the pitch bend wheel and pull it down all the way to its maximum, it will automatically go to the next pentatonic note. So for example, let's say I play this phrase. So that last note I can create by bending the note prior to it, and it will automatically go directly to it when I put my mod wheel in maximum position downward. And not only does it go to the correct note in the pentatonic scale, it adds some vibrato to it automatically. Okay, and I don't need to hold that note down. It will just know it's the last note played, and it will automatically bend to the right note. So we're used to holding notes down for their duration, but since this instrument rings, there's no need to do that. Or if I want to play a phrase and just give it a slight bend, I can do that as well, and the LFO will not kick in. Just a real brief turn in the pitch. So how do we control the pitch bend LFO? Well, that's what these knobs represent down here. We can control the amount of the LFO, we can control the frequency, and the fade in of the LFO. So if I crank the amount up a bit higher, you can hear it a little more clearly. If I want it to take longer to fade in before that vibrato happens, I just increase the percentage on the knob. If I want to change the frequency, I just use this knob. This will be faster. What about the waveform of the LFO? What is it? Well, the default waveform number 1 in this drop-down menu is a triangle wave. From there down, waveforms 2 through 7, we have an S-shape LFO, and as you go down the list towards 7, the peak of the S lasts for a longer period of time. So if I go all the way down, well, here's number 4. Here's sort of an in-between. Let me change the frequency back to its default. So here's number 4 waveform. Now listen, if I go all the way up to number 7, and the amount is very high, it's going to sound out of tune because it's at the peak of the LFO for too long. It'll sound sharp. Hear that? If I increase the frequency, you'll probably hear it even more clearly. Right? So what you want to do if you're using this number 7 waveform, or maybe even number 6, back off the amount. Because you can get just the right amount, and you can get some very cool sounds. See there, you don't hear it quite as pronounced. Oop. And it's only affecting the last note I played. The other notes are just ringing without any LFO affected. So now in the next column it says vibrato, and this is going to relate to your modulation wheel. So if you turn that on, it doesn't have to be your mod wheel, it could be any continuous controller that you want to assign here in the CC knob, but I have it set to the mod wheel. And the way this works is you play a phrase and then you can manually, as you would on any synthesizer, control your vibrato with your mod wheel. But what you do is you leave the key held down that you want it to affect. So for example, if I do this and I let the last key go right away, there's no vibrato. But if I do the same phrase and I leave the last note down, you can hear it happening. Okay, so in order for that to work, you want to leave the last note held down. And again, it only affects the last note. It's all KSP scripted vibrato. It's not going to behave like your normal vibrato would. And you'll notice when I move my mod wheel, the amount changes up to 40%. Well, why just 40? Well, down here, it says range. That's a scaling proportional number in relation to the amount. So if I want more than 40, I can turn my range up way up to 90 here, and then you'll notice when I move my mod wheel, it goes all the way up to 100%. And of course, all this stuff is, assignable to be played in real time. So it's important to understand that we have actually 2 independent LFOs. We have one for the pitch bend wheel. We also have one for the CC assignment, which in this case is my mod wheel. They can be set totally independently. Can give you a lot of variety of vibrato sounds. So this is using waveform 1, and over here I'm using waveform 4. So for example, here's mod wheel modulation, then I'll switch over to pitch bend wheel. And now we have one more mode of vibrato. Instead of manual vibrato, which we traditionally use with the mod wheel, I can change that to auto vibrato. And when I do that, you see the CC assignment has disappeared because it's going to be automatically applied. So how this works is you hold down the last note you want to have vibrato occur on. So if I play 3 notes quickly and I release everything, there's no vibrato. But if I hold the last note, you can hear the vibrato kicks in automatically. So this, and again, we have all these parameters. We have the waveforms to choose from. We have the amount. Let me crank up the amount a little bit so you can hear it more pronounced. And, if you want it to fade in a little later, just increase the percentage. And frequency control. So this is actually pretty effective to use. I found this to be useful in making some demos in conjunction with the pitch bend wheel. So you get 2 totally different waveforms. So here's auto vibrato. And then this time I'll just do the last note and I'll use the pitch bend vibrato. So combinations of those can be real useful. You see at the end of those glissandos, I'm just holding down the last note, and the auto vibrato's kicking in. So now I'll briefly just talk about some of the other pages on the instrument tab. We were on the vibrato page. The settings page allows you to learn preset key switches. So these green key switches, if you want to put them somewhere else, now they have to be outside of the range of the blue keys, so either here or way up here. But if you want to reassign them to another key, you have that flexibility. You just click on the button, you hit the key you want, and you'll notice that green key will move to where you have placed it outside of the key range. I also talked already about selecting the skins for the background of contact. If you want to don't like a particular image, just switch it to one of the other three choices. Stereo field width, we have panning control. You all know what that is, panning left or right. And we also have the width control. So this all the way to the right is going to give me a very exaggerated stereo spread. And all the way to the left will give me a mono signal. So let me move on to the effects tab now. If you currently have any Bolder Sounds libraries you've had bought in the last couple of years, you'll be very at home with this already, I believe. If I jump back to the main instrument tab, on the main page, you still have access to turn the effects on and off. This is just for quick auditioning of these sounds without having to go to the effects tab. But if you want to get into the nitty-gritty editing of the effects, you need to go to the effects tab. And then we have the drop-down menu here. We have the EQ page, modulation page, delay page, space reverb, and again the about information page. So, for example, if I go to the space page, it's very important. Make sure you turn it on. So right here it says space is off. So right now we have not heard anything with any effects at all. This is totally dry. It's a nice, clear sound as it is. So turn on the space, and now we have Ambience 1 selected. This is an IR convolution. Just kind of a nice room sound. If you want to increase the amount of that, just use this knob. You can hear the actual IR much more clearly. But back it off to our default is at -12 dB. And then you can choose from all these various spaces. Something you'll notice, we have chambers, church, hall, plate, rooms. Church number 3, for example. On a lot of these recordings from Vietnam and Asia, you'll hear a lot of reverb on the sound. Of course, that's a bit much. And then we have a high-pass filter and low-pass filter on the reverb if you want to darken some of the low end or take some of the high end out of it, as well as a pre-delay sound. And the space size you can control as well in percentages with a drop-down menu. Also, if you prefer to use Kontakt's built-in reverb, on this button right here, we have a drop-down menu. You can choose reverb, and then you're using Kontakt's built-in reverb, which is quite a bit more CPU efficient if you choose to use that. And all these effects have presets that you can save your custom settings. You can save off a bank, you can load the bank, you can set an initial default bank, you can reset everything in just one click here on reset all knobs. So it's very, very flexible in regards to customizing your own presets. And if you want to go, for example, to the delay page, let me turn the space page off. You just click on the button and it takes you to the corresponding page, and again you have the same preset menu. You can turn the sync on or off to sync it with your DAW. On the chorus page We have a drop-down menu, and you'll notice it says chorus, flanger, phaser, rotator. So you have a lot more than the traditional chorus. Here's the chorus sound, just its default. Oops, sorry, I've got the delay on. Flanger. Phaser. Kind of an interesting effect. So I won't spend any more time on the effects. You guys know how these all work. EQ is very nice in that we have advanced options with multi-band parameters, or if you want to just keep things really simple, just click on that. It says advanced EQ off. We have bass, mid, and treble control. You can very quickly tweak something that way. We also have some other goodies in this sample library. What you're looking at right now is called Trron pentatonic vibrato. So these are samples with vibrato recorded into them. Just a very subtle wavering of the pitch. It's not the wild bending thing we were referring to before. I just happen to like the sound of it, and I thought we have these samples left over. Why not include them in the package? So here's what they sound like. And as far as the functionality of the instrument, we still have everything available. You still have the presets in green, harmonics. Now those harmonics, you'll notice, do not have vibrato on them, only the natural notes. But of course you could use your mod wheel and all the pitch bending tools that I showed you before in this instrument as well. So that's just a nice little extra to have in the sample library. And so now I've loaded up yet another Trron instrument. This one is called chromatic, because what if you don't want to just play on the pentatonic scale all the time? We've sampled every note. We certainly want to give it to you to use it in whatever way you see fit. So obviously we have a chromatic scale now. And I retuned each string to get all these half steps. The only difference in this instrument versus the pentatonic one is the automatic pitch bend. In the previous one, it bends it to the next note upward in the pentatonic scale. Since we're using a chromatic scale here, that would not apply. So here what we do is we go to the pitch bend vibrato page, and you see we have settings for pitch bend up and pitch bend down. It's set to 3 half steps and 2 half steps. So you would just use that as you normally would, your traditional pitch bend. Oh, and you can have it bend down, by the way, even though the instrument doesn't do that, but you can certainly do it. And so on, for special effects, but that obviously wouldn't be the traditional way to use it, but you can do whatever you want. And now I've just loaded up the chromatic instrument again, but now with the vibrato samples. So if you like those natural vibrato samples, just a very subtle vibrato with the chromatic scale, it's there for you to use as well. And one more instrument. Here's the Trron keyboard. So this is just set up to respond the way a normal keyboard player would expect. So the sustain pedal does not turn on the tremolo. The sustain just simply makes it sustain. And So if you play a note without the sustain pedal down, I'll just release it right away. It's a quick release. The instrument actually does something totally different than that. It just keeps ringing. So this is set up, if you just want to play, you might want to play it layered with a electric piano or some other synth sound. You want to just play it like a traditional keyboard, you know, you just play it. And I'm sure you can play it much better than I can. But we still have the same preset articulations. You have the harmonics here if you want to lock them on. Okay, and pitch bending, vibrato. But if you just want to feel at home playing a keyboard the way you normally do, and you want this sound as a texture, it's available to you. So thank you very much for watching the video. When you have a chance, listen to some of the MP3 demos. They're quite a bit better than my live playing, which tends not to be all that terrific. And it's late November of 2014. We hope you have a good holiday, safe New Year, and a great 2015. So best wishes to you.